Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. There are 2 times a year that I always make a point to go to the J.C. Ralston Arboretum, which is actually down the road from me in Raleigh, North Carolina. One of them happens typically in mid to late February when the deciduous magnolias are in full bloom. They have an amazing collection of deciduous magnolias. And the other one is just before that when the Prunus Mumes bloom, or the Japanese flowering apricots. They are amongst my absolute favorite flowering trees. I love things that flower in the wintertime. Especially things that are fragrant and flower in the wintertime, and Prunus Mume just checks a lot of boxes for me. I love this. I love things that kind of brave the cold, which definitely this tree does like no other. I mean, it will absolutely bloom with snow on the ground if the timing is right for it. They're hardy in zone 6 to 9, so the flower time would be dependent probably on where you are in that spectrum. Probably in zone 6, they're going to be a little later in February every year, but toward the end of January, typically here. They were early January this year, and I almost missed the flowering on them. I almost always go over there and take photos when they're in flower. And the night before, we had a heavy windstorm that blew a lot of the flowers across the ground, as you'll see in this video. But Prunus Mume goes by a lot of different names. You'll hear it Japanese flowering apricot, or just Japanese apricot. Chinese plum, Japanese plum can go by a lot of common names. Like I say, here in my area, typically by the end of January, they're in full bloom, and they're usually white, pink, red, or some combination of that. There's 300 cultivars, I think, at J.C. Ralston Arboretum. There's, I don't know how many there are, 7 or 8 over there that are all beautiful. They're upright and weeping varieties that you'll see in this video, and the upright ones might get in the 25 foot range, typically more like 15 to 20 feet max. They're pretty fast growing once they get some roots under them in the ground, has been my experience. I grew a Peggy Clark and a couple others while I had my nursery. Unfortunately, this is not a plant that's readily available for whatever reason. There just aren't a lot of growers, so they're a little harder to find sometime, but you can almost certainly find them mail order. Like I said, they're hardy in zones 6 to 9, so quite a few of you watching this video can actually grow this. It flowers, like I say, it's a deciduous tree, so the flowers appear on naked branches, and then it leaves out, shortly thereafter after the flowering. That gets a fruit that can be up to an inch, that is edible and but bitter. I mean, to me, it's not a commercial apricot, but in Southeast Asia they'll use them to make alcohol and to make tea and to make jams, and for medicinal purposes. They find a lot of uses for them. They prefer mulched bed spaces, and this is really important. This is a relative of cherries, and I think cherries are exactly the same. And most ornamental flowering trees, that'd be dogwoods, redbuds, I don't care what it is. These small ornamental flowering trees that people frequently go home and plant in their lawns, and they will definitely underperform if you do that. They need a dedicated mulched space. They like organic material around their feet. Don't pile it up on the actual trunk of the plant. That's not a good idea at all, but definitely keep the ground covered. They like slightly acidic soil. They like well-drained soil. So if you're planting them in clay, you'll probably want to mound them up a little bit when you plant them. That would definitely be a good idea. They can be pruned and fertilized after they flower if they need to be pruned. And like a lot of ornamental flowering trees like this, the bottom branches get shaded out by the top branches, and so frequently you have dying branches in the bottom of the canopy that have to be taken off each year. And so over time you'll be limbing it up, because the bottom, like I say, some of the bottom branches will die. I love the contorted nature of the trunks on these, and you see this in this video where they're contorted, where as opposed to like a Yoshino cherry or a Kwanzan cherry that has the smooth bark. I really prefer the trunks on these, where they're so just contorted and unusual looking. Rarely is this tree going to be that perfect vase-shaped ornamental flowering tree that so many people seek out, like the reason we had a million Bradford pears all over the place. This one's going to have a little bit of character to it. It's going, you're going to end up cutting a branch off that was going one direction, and it's going to, 80% of the plant's going to be going a different direction, and that's to me, wonderful. It's one of the characteristics of Prunus Mume is every single tree is going to be different. They're not going to be clones of one another. So I hate I missed the full flowering on these, but I am glad I got to see all the flowers on the ground. It's just really, really beautiful. And like I say, these fragrant flowers are just wonderful in January on these super underused trees. And like I say, Prunus Mume is definitely amongst my favorite winter trees, and to me they're just kind of magical. And I've seen them bloom when there's snow on the ground, which is really truly magical if you get that opportunity with the pink or darker colored flowers contrasted against the snow. Thank you very much for watching this video.